Hey guys,
Hi,
I'm Grant
I'm Bianca.
and we're living like kings. We just thought we'd jump on and tell you about 10 things that nobody tells you about caravanning.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Okay,
What's number one?
so number one, this sounds a little bit perverse, the way I'm going to say it, and a bit of a duh, but it's true. Number one is know your rig. And what I mean by that is you need to know what's going on, what size bolts go on what, where, what size sockets you need. You need to know what filters you need. You need to know all the parts. Do your research on your tow vehicle and your caravan. And you need to know how to do a lot of the stuff because, let's face it, everyone's out here at the moment, everyone's traveling around and everyone has things going wrong. Caravans that were bought during the COVID period, let's face it, were built generally in a rush and may have some issues. Warranty is all good and you know, all that aside, my point is the repairers, they're just flat out. So to find one, you can be pretty hard up to find a repairer. So you need to know how to service both vehicles, the tow vehicle and the caravan. And you need to know how to do a bit of plumbing. You need to do a bit of mechanical stuff. You need to be fairly handy as well. Research what you've got and speak to mechanics, speak to repairers, speak to people in the know, and just get as much information out of them on those vehicles as possible and educate yourself.
I'll just add where you can carry spares of things. So, for example, the grease cap on our caravan, we've got some simplicity suspension and they like to fall off those grease caps, and it is a little bit of a pain in the bum trying to find some when you're out. We have carried a spare with us, replaced it, and then the spare's fallen off, and then we've had to do a little bit of bush mechanics by using like a VB can we've found on the road, or like the lid of a Bushman's spray can, or the spray oil or something as a replacement. But yeah, try to, where you can, carry a spare of whatever parts that might be a bit more difficult to get while you're on the road.
Another good example of that is your door handles on your caravan. So the Kamek door handles, they're plastic. They do perish, and when they do, it's usually in the most inopportune moment. By that I mean you're probably in the middle of nowhere and you need to get into the van, but you now cannot. You need to know how to take the door handle off and replace it with a new one. You need to have a replacement for a start, and then you need to know how to install it. These are all the things that I would highly recommend doing prior to departing on your trip, or if you're like us and you live on the road, and if you're planning to go somewhere remote, whilst you are not remote and you're in town, get a spare, put it on, and just work it out while you're in town.
Yeah.
And then put the old one back on if you need to, if it's still okay. So that's number one.
Yeah. So number two we've got is not knowing to book ahead. And what I mean by that is, it's not necessarily, I'm not talking about booking caravan sites. So there are certain places where you will need to book ahead, especially WA, to get the caravan spot that you want, like national parks and beach camping and things like that. If there is a particular place that you absolutely want to go see, then you're probably better off booking ahead where you can. Generally, we don't book ahead for accommodation. And we wing it a bit more. But what I'm talking about is your services and your car services, your caravan services, things like that. Even like if you need to have a medical appointment on the road, you really need to plan that ahead of time because a lot of places either don't take people who are new, they don't book you in, or they're like, there's a 6 to 8 week wait. So if you know that it's coming up in advance where you can, and you think that you're going to be in a certain area by that date.
Did you get it? Oh, no, it's up. Oh,
sorry.
Get it, Frankie, get it.
So what I mean is like booking in a car or a caravan service, and when you get to a town and you ring around trying to book it in, a lot of them are booked out for like 6 to 8 weeks to do anything, or they're not taking new people. So you do need to think about that in advance, and 3 months out from when you need to do those things, think about where you're going to be, ring around and see if you can book in a slot, or even just see what the wait time is in those places, especially if you are living on the road, because it does become quite difficult. Or if you have a shorter window of travel and you need to sit somewhere for 6 weeks waiting for an appointment to get a service, that's not really feasible. So definitely you need to book ahead for those things.
It's a pretty broad thing, so booking ahead. It could be your own health checkups, it could be vet appointments, it could be anything. It could be servicing, it could be whatever. You really need to think well in advance, and sometimes you can't. But then you will be forced to. So it can be a bit difficult and pretty tricky. No one sort of tells you about those sorts of things, and it's something that sort of comes crashing down on you like with some weight when it does.
Well, it kind of leads into number 3 anyway. So
number 3, right? Number 3 is Rego, Interstate Road Authorities. Now, they all like to do their own bloody thing, and when you're travelling, we sort of consider ourselves Australian, not New South Welshmen or Queenslanders or WA, because we've lived in pretty much all the states, and they all like to do their own thing. It's frustrating as all get out for full-time travellers because you can't keep up. So the most frustrating thing is if you are from New South Wales and your vehicle is over 5 years old, you will require a pink slip.
For the caravan as well.
For the caravan as well. Now, every other state seems to carry on like as if they've never heard of this before. Well, it's been around for a while, and no one seems to be up to speed on it, and it's frustrating. So you'll go into a different state, and you can't get back to New South Wales in time to do a pink slip, which is no big deal. You just go into your repair or a mechanic and just, sort it out, mate. All good, done. 5 minutes later, sweet. You go pay it, and you're on your merry way. If you're in a different state, it doesn't happen like that.
So when we first realised this was when, like the first year we had left, and we were in South Australia. It was also COVID times, and I was ringing everywhere in South Australia to see if we could get a pink slip done, and not the only place that we could book in. I even rang up to, I think, the services South Australia or RTA or whatever it is. We could get it done in Adelaide itself, or we could get it done in Port Lincoln, and we were in Coober Pedy and we were not driving the 9 hours down to Adelaide to get it done. But I could find in WA actually was quite easy. I could get onto the WA website and it told me all the different mechanics you could book into to get it done. So what I did was I rang up the Services New South Wales. Luckily it was COVID time, so they had a plan in place that if you couldn't get to a mechanic at a time, they could give you a 3-month window. So I rang up, we got that 3-month window, and then when we crossed over into WA, we were heading that way anyway. We booked it in Esperance and got it done because we had that leeway there. You need to kind of plan ahead. If we weren't going to WA and I hadn't had that approval from the New South Wales government, we would have driven down to Adelaide and got it done there. But there's not many places when you're interstate that do offer pink slips, and it's something you need to think about. And every year we still go, oh no, we need to get a pink slip.
Yeah, we act like as if it's a surprise and like, oh my God, we couldn't foresee this unfortunate thing.
I know,
like,
we still forget every year.
Oh, like absolute noobs.
But yeah, so that's something else you need to plan ahead for.
Yeah.
If you're just travelling for 1 year, you might be okay. You might have missed that little window where you need it, but if you're going to be longer, it will become a constant yearly reminder that you have to do something.
Now, number 4 is the alcohol limits.
Yeah.
Do actually change from state to state. Now, this seems a bit funny. It might be a little bit controversial and everyone has their opinion about it. Basically, this more applies to those of you that might be driving a truck or a vehicle requiring a heavier licence. Now, in New South Wales, it is
0.02.
0.02.
Now, if I have any of these numbers wrong, we'll just put it on the screen.
Well, we'll find the numbers and we'll put them on the screen now.
Yeah.
For all the different states and territories, and you'll see how they change. Now, I don't know why. I would have thought that it was like, well, it's just the one country and it's the same, but
no, they're different. Different per state.
It's always different, and the states want to be special. They want to do something different. Anyway,
so it's just something you have to be aware of.
This is something that you have to be aware of, just like the next one. Number 5 is speed limits.
Yeah.
They also change. So if you're towing in, say, was it South Australia?
WA.
WA mainly. If you're towing in WA, you cannot go above 100.
Yeah.
You can't. It's the law. But people do. In Northern Territory, the speed limit can be up to 130. There's no covenant on, whether or not your towing has anything to do with it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but my point is that we're trying to tell you that speed limits do change, and it's mainly to do with vehicles who are towing.
Yeah. Or if you do have a truck, which we do, there are different requirements in different states for trucks. So just be aware of it. That's all we're saying. Like, just do your own research. Don't just trust anybody from the internet, us. Yeah. Do your own research and have a look and make sure you're aware of whatever regulations will apply in the state that you're going into, because they are different. 6. So number 6 is something that I had to come to grips with, I guess.
You still are a bit.
And you're kind of dirty all the time. You will be. Like, yes, you have a shower. Yes, we can wash clothes. Yes, we can do all these things. But when you're living in a house and you have your, routines of maybe showering twice a day, maybe washing your sheets once or a couple of times a week, and towels and things like that, you can't really do all that stuff as regularly as you would like in a caravan. If you're staying in caravan parks all the time, then yes, maybe you can. But if you're going to be off-grid, you are restricted to the amount of water that you can carry in the van yourself. You're restricted to having a washing machine, which we don't in our caravan. And it might be weeks before you wash your sheets again, which is kind of gross, and you have to kind of get comfortable with that. You may wear clothes multiple times in a row, and you might not shower for a couple of days. And you just kind of have to get...
You have to be okay with it.
You have to be okay with it, and you get used to it. There's things you work around, like you might use baby wipes and things like that to wipe yourself down. You have like more of a bird-style bath where you might just fill up a little bucket and wash yourself, just to be a little bit cleaner. But especially with the dogs, which I think Baxter's just behind me, the amount of dirt that they bring into the caravan, it is a lot. And you're constantly forever like sweeping or vacuuming. They jump up on the bed, well, ours do anyway, and we allow them to because they're not under our feet. So we're not tripping over them all the time if they're up off the floor and on the bed. But that also means that the bed gets sand and dirt, and like I'm constantly vacuuming the doona cover because it's covered in sand and stuff like that. So yeah, basically just be comfortable with being slightly dirty all the time.
It will take you some time. It took us a while to be okay with it.
But anyway, it is what it is. It's the price I'm willing to pay.
And number 7 is not something that we thought that we'd ever end up thinking or saying or feeling. But it's inevitable the longer you're on the road. Sooner or later, you will hate caravanning.
At some point.
At some point, you will hate it. Now, that will completely depend on what's happened to you and your own sort of headspace as well as to how long those feelings will last for. It could just be a bad day.
Yeah.
Or everything could go to pot and you just go, stuff this, we're out. And then you go home and you sell everything up and that's end of story.
Or you can do what we do, is when we have moments of like, this is not working for us, we completely change it up.
Overcorrect.
We overcorrect and we drive 5,000 kilometres in the other direction just to get to somewhere else. And then we're like, oh, this is amazing again.
It's like we put some kilometres under the belt to try and escape our headspace. Which has, as stupid as it sounds, it actually has worked quite a lot. So you need to just do what you need to do to get out of that funk. And I mean, let's face it, before traveling on, like before this whole, at some point hating caravanning, well, we were living in a house, and at some point you're going to hate your everyday mundane life.
Yeah.
So what do? We went caravanning.
Exactly.
At some point, like, because caravanning, particularly living nomadically, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It can be incredibly challenging. We personally love the challenge. It's not to say that the challenge doesn't get old after a while, from time to time, but I think you just need to, I don't know, help each other out and sort of detect when one's feeling a bit that way, and you just got to try and steer the ship to calmer waters. So that's what we've done, that's what we do, and that's what we hopefully will continue to do.
Yeah. So number 8 is, it kind of leads on from the last one, but living full-time on the road is not a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what people think, that they might, like, you might be posting on social media about, like, you know, you're on the beach here or you're snorkeling there or you're out in some beautiful location, but then also you might make a post going like, that might have more of a negative tone to it, and then everybody from back home is going like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah,
you're on holidays.
Shut up.
Like, I would like to be there and not like on my job or working, but yes, you are taking time away from a standard normal lifestyle, but you're not leaving your life. All those things come with you. Any like bills or any kind of like emotional baggage or anything like that you might have in your life, or something that you stress about, still comes with you on your lap around Australia. Or if you're like us, we've been in the caravan for 3 years now. Like, all those things come with you. You still have life maintenance. You still have all of your other things. But on top of all of those amazing places that you go see and do, you still have your just general mundane things where, oh, I've got to go find where to get fuel, I've got to find where to get food this time, I've got to find where this campsite is. And sometimes it's exhausting, and sometimes you just need almost like a couple of down days to recoup from traveling. Because it's not just, you're not flying into a location, sitting by the beach and having someone deliver you cocktails. You can have all those things, but you need to do all that prep to get all those things, to make it, to deliver it to yourself, to sit on the beach. So it's not just like a holiday. It's not as glamorous as everybody kind of portrays.
I think we do a good job of showing you how not glamorous it is, and how not glamorous we are.
Oh, yeah. I'm not glamorous.
There's no smoke and mirrors here, boys and girls. So, number 9 is the weather has the final say. So you might plan this most amazing route and have all these things lined up and all these things booked ahead, which is what we've told you to do. But this is the kicker, right? So you might be on one side of the country and you're like, right, in September I'm going to be in Exmouth for a game fishing charter, and I've put the deposit down and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be amazing. All the boys are coming. Well, we got to get from here to there. We're going to charge across the country and do it. Well, all right, sweet. That's a fantastic idea. I hope it all goes to plan, but it's probably not going to, because the weather never plays ball.
Yeah.
That's it. That's our experience. And the likelihood of the weather going to pot, in our experience, is pretty high. So then what do? You get there and you've just, wasted all that time and money getting across the country for a booking that you can't make now because it's been cancelled due to bad weather. So that's something that you need to sort of take into consideration when booking further down the line, basically, is you need to just be prepared that what is the cancellation policy?
Exactly, yeah. Or take out the travel insurance if you can on whatever it is. Also, like, the weather really changes the feel of a location. And you can go, we've been to the same place like on a beautiful day and thought, this is the most pristine place we've ever been. And then we've been there on another day and it's like really windy, overcast, and like it just doesn't have the magic anymore. And with timing and traveling, and sometimes you do get to all the places and they don't have the magic that you're expecting because of the weather. But it's just something you have to get used to. So expect the worst and you'll never be disappointed or something.
Plan for the worst.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway. Okay, so number 10 is the maintenance. It doesn't end. Never will it end. So it's a bit like a Looney Tunes cartoon where, they're in a boat and then springs a leak and they plug it there and another one and then they plug it and another one and another one and another one and another one, and then before they know it, they're all tangled up. Well, that's a bit like caravanning in a nutshell. Particularly if you've got an older van like ours. So, but even on the car, like you set out and you think, I'm not going to want for another thing. I shouldn't have any expenses, and then everything breaks. I think it's just the wear and tear of traveling full time. The van and the car are doing 40, 50,000 kilometres a year, and some of those roads are not very good, whether it's actual tarred road or dirt roads. It just has wear and tear. Everything doesn't last as long as you would expect it to, and you are constantly going, oh, okay, well, that's broke, so I need to replace that. Or even shoes. I have had, in the last 3 years, I've gone through like 4 or 5 pairs of Birkenstocks, and they just they just wear out because that's all I'm wearing, and they're not cheap. You're just constantly buying stuff. I've gone through all the colours in the Archie's range.
Yeah. And like clothes, they wear out really quick from the constant washing, and because if you're at work, you only wear your weekend clothes on the weekend. We only live in weekend clothes and they really don't last as long as you expect it to. And constantly just buying stuff. So maintenance doesn't end.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad, it's not just maintenance of your rig or whatever. It's body maintenance, self-maintenance, those sorts of things. Doesn't stop.
I guess your joints wear out quicker as well.
Yep.
A lot more scrambling up rocks and stuff, especially when you're in WA.
Yeah, climbing under vehicles.
I've had a lot more falls in the last year.
Oh, have you what? Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway.
She's a worry. It's good for the old anxiety, my anxiety. Anyway, so yeah, that's the 10 things that we can think of that really no one ever talks about. And some of them, it's funny because some of them are actually a little bit like moments, like the rego and things like that. Even like the speed limit, the alcohol limit, and knowing your rig. I mean, I think we probably maybe do consider those things from time to time, but it's like when they do come up, it's like we act like as if it's a surprise. It's just odd. So take those three with a grain of salt. But they're the things that no one really ever tells you about, or if they do, no one ever really talks about. So
that's our 10. I'm sure there's a lot more. We've just thought of 10 right now, but I am interested. If you have any extras, please leave them in the comments so that anybody else who's watching the video can take those tips as well. And, if you have liked this video, we have another 120 odd travel videos. If you haven't seen us and this is the first time you're watching us, please go ahead and watch those. Binge watch. The whole playlist would be amazing.
You probably see this whole list in a few of them anyway, so to prove the point.
Yeah, and like and subscribe if you want to watch more, and that's it.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.